Hey guys, Lieutenant Dan here. Wanted to post this video about my progress with my custom game table for Axis and Allies. Um, so this is not going to be a step-by-step on how to build the table that I'm going to show you. It's really a multi-series. I'm just going to break it down into sections. I've really been procrastinating putting this video together because I had so many videos, so many pictures, and I just didn't know where to start. So this is where I'm going to start with this picture that you see here. So I'm going to show you how I built this table with the table bottom that you see there, and the four legs with the lateral support and the support between the legs, and then the apron that goes around to attach the leg structure to the table bottom. And other videos will be the structure, the underneath structure. There's quite a bit, and then I'll get into the actual tabletop. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. All right, well, it really all began with the video series of Siredblood and G.I. Joe building their tabletops. And so I thought, okay, well, that's great to get a tabletop. So that gave me a lot of ideas. But then I needed to figure out how to build the bottom, the structure for the tabletop. So that's where I began. And so I spent countless hours on the web looking for ideas on, various structures of, different game tables, and just gathering ideas and taking the best of all the things that I saw on the web to include, the features that G.I. Joe and Siredblood put into their tables, and I wanted to incorporate that into mine. So what you see here is this one structure. It's pretty beefy. It's for a shuffleboard game. And I thought, this will be a good beefy structure. So I just really reversed engineered it, and then drew up the plans as best as I could. Just broke out the triangles and the mechanical pencil and some paper, and just started drawing stuff to scale. And I really went back in time where I learned how to do mechanical drawings back in 9th and 10th grade. Which took me to college. That's where I got my degree in engineering. But it was really fun breaking out the triangles and just getting all my ideas on paper. All right, I'm going to apologize, but I lost some key videos and some images that I had taken months and months ago when I was building this thing up. But I'm going to do the best I can here. So the first picture that you see here is I just got back. I bought a bunch of wood. On the left, you see is a 4x8 sheet of plywood. I think it's a ½ inch thick. And then on the right is another 4x8 that I had cut up into strips on a friend of mine's table saw. So my map is approximately 85 by 39 inches. And much bigger than the out-of-the-box game size map. And so that's going to require me to have a much bigger table because obviously I'm going to put compartments around them and so on. So that's the reason why I had to buy two 4x8s. So how I joined these up was with a biscuit cutter. So I cut so many slots on each end. So I started with the end pieces first. I was going to glue them up. So here I cut the slots in the end pieces that I was going to attach to the 4x8. So here I'm just kind of lining it up, but see what's going on here. Oh, there's the biscuit. So basically what you do is you take a biscuit, slide it in there, you glue the entire edge up, put some glue inside of that the slot where the biscuit is, then you just attach everything. All right, so after I inserted the biscuits, then I glued everything up with that extra strength glue that you see there on the table bottom, top, whatever side that is. But anyway, I you see that I have that one smaller piece, which is basically where the trays are going to go for the game pieces. And I have it clamped, and I put a little pressure. I have this nightstand or like an end table, putting pressure on that end and then pushing up against the doorway or the wall at the other end. Is the only thing I could do to ensure that everything kind of stayed put, and basically just let it sit up overnight, and then I took everything off in the morning and then did the next section. All right, so then it was pretty much rinse and repeat to do the sides. So I basically cut the using the biscuit cutter, cut in my slots for the long side on both sides, and then I did that for the attached pieces where the trays would be basically sitting. And then I clamped everything up, cleaned up all the glue. There it looks like I needed to clean it up even more. I'm not sure why there's so much glue there, but anyway, it's all nice and smooth now. But you see I used the end tables there, and I put a lot of pressure up against the side there to push it up against the wall, so I made sure that everything was nice and snug. So everything worked out pretty good. All right, so then the next morning I took all the clamps off, kind of tore some pieces off there. You see a little bit of one of those boards I was using so the clamps wouldn't make indentations on the plywood. But anyway, it's no big deal. I just used a chisel and got some of that excess wood there that you see off. And later, I don't know when, but I sanded everything down so it was nice and smooth. But I was really happy with how everything joined together and how it came out. I mean, it's all exactly to the sizes that I want it to be. And all right, so the next part was building the legs. Now, I originally wanted to have like a 6x6 or a 5x5. I forget the exact. I think it was a 5x5, but one of those posts that you'd put underneath your deck, right? As legs for your outside deck. Because that's how big that picture, it seemed to be, that's how big they were. And but when I got to Home Depot, I was looking around the wood, everything was pressure treated, and I was thinking, that's going to cause a problem with staining or painting maybe. So I made things even more complicated. So then I decided to make a hollow leg comprised of basically 4 pieces, right? Cut to size. It ended up being five or 6 pieces to make up the leg. And so this drawing is just I just sketched something out to scale, just kind of getting my brain wrapped around how I was going to join everything, which was or just really how just to piece everything together. That was a trick in itself. All right, so what I did was I bought some 2x6s, and I bought the wrong type. If you notice, there's rounded corners. They were I wanted it to be 5.5 inches square, but because of those rounds, I had to cut it down just a bit. So it ended up being 5.25, which is fine. So I bought a ton of 2x6s, right? And I cut them down to the proper height or close to the proper height. So then I cut the pieces up to cut off those rounded edges. So here you can see it did pretty good. I I borrowed my brother-in-law's table saw, and I don't know, it was pretty tough to get a really accurate cut on it. So I actually had a dream that I cut my fingers off. So I made those push sticks that you see right here. Um, and I finished up the job the next day. Um, but it got the job done. All right, so then what I did was I took some of the scrap pieces that weren't cut really square, and I just wanted to create a prototype of the leg before I started cutting everything up, because it's going to be kind of complicated because there's going to be so many pieces to form one leg. And so that slot that you see there is where the skirt will fit in. That will then be to give support to the tabletop. Okay, and then I got a couple holes there showing where I would, put in some screws to join up each adjacent board. All right, so then I wanted to see how it would look on the bottom of the table. So I just put some of the skirts down, just roughed it in, right? And then placed that one leg on the corner there. And just to kind of see how it would look. And, there's some big gaps there. That's fine. Again, this is just the prototype. And then I drilled some other holes in there, just trying to figure out the best approach on how I was going to countersink the bolts in and things like that. So there's a few extra holes in there just because I was playing around, but no big deal. So here I cut 3 of the pieces for all of the legs, and I assembled them and glued them up, screwed them up, and clamped them. And just going to let it sit overnight. Things came out pretty good at this point. Everything was pretty flush. Not too worried about how things were joined up. Nothing a little sanding can't fix. All right, so the next day I went and cut the next piece, the 4th piece, and I'm just showing you here how it's going to fit in. Just kind of doing a little dry run, seeing if everything kind of fits properly, and more importantly is this slot down here where a cross brace was going to fit in. I had to, on the table saw, I'd take a little 1/8 of an inch passes to cut off what you see there, kind of that jagged edge. I'll just sand that down later. But it all looks good. So here I took the other pieces and attached them to the other legs, and I went ahead and screwed in screws, as you see the holes there. And I will later fill those in with some stuff for wood. It's kind of like a drywall stuff. I'll show you here in the next video. So here you see that pink stuff. So it's wet. That's why it's showing there. But I use that. I spread that over all the seams and any holes to, later I would then sand everything down and make it real smooth. And really worked out really nice. But that stuff was specifically for wood. I think it was plastic wood or something like that. I'm gonna paint those legs anyway, so I'm not worried about seeing the grain show. All right, so it's really just an iterative process. Wait about about an hour after it dries, and then you go do your sanding, and just rinse and repeat. There's that stuff in the background, that pink lid. Anyway, so I think at this point I started rounding the corners. I didn't want to have really sharp corners. So I just took some sandpaper and just did nice, long, even strokes all the way down the edge. And I would count how many times I went down the edge so that it was, tried to get the corners to be exactly the same. All right, so then I assembled the last piece. It's a little 3.5 inch piece that goes at the bottom to form the square on the bottom to give support for a cross beam that goes between each leg. So there, I think, because it was so small, I think I just glued it in there. It wasn't going to really have much structural purpose anyway. It's more aesthetic. And then once that dries up, then I'll go back and add some more of that plastic wood stuff, and then sand everything up to make everything nice and smooth. All right, so next thing I did was I wanted to create a base for the leg. So you see that little square piece with the mitered edges. Basically, I took a block, right, and then I went to my miter saw and just, I think it was like a 30-degree cut or something like that, and just made those cuts, and then I glued it on the bottom there and waited overnight and repeated with that that pink plastic wood stuff and sanded it all up, and it came out really nice. So now you can see the everything attached. I created that cross member and went ahead and screwed it in and attached it, and I also glued it too, because I wanted to kind of make the base modular, so if I needed to move, I could take everything, disassemble it. So that'd be one piece. It wasn't that heavy. It was all made out of wood, or obviously wood, pine. So now I created that cross beam. I cut it to the right size. I bolted it in place, and then I also bolted the skirt to the legs to square everything up. It pretty much was square. I mean, I was off probably, if I measured from corner to corner, I was off maybe, I don't know, maybe like a quarter of an inch. I couldn't get any closer. But I was pretty happy, and it was all level, and so I was pretty amazed on how everything came out with my lack of experience of doing this type of work. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. What I wanted to show you during this segment of my custom table project. I will post more videos on the progress of my table. I do have another set of images and videos explaining the understructure. And then I'm currently now starting to do the tabletop. So there'll be a whole nother segment on that. All right, so hope everybody's doing well, and we'll talk to you again soon.